as well as what the things are to know, really, so you can plan ahead and really maximize your retirement process. So, to start off, really, what we're going to cover today specifically is going to be number one, that FERS pension calculation. So, understanding more about how that pension is calculated so you can also know and expect how much you're going to receive in retirement. Number two, we'll look at Social Security coordination and calculations. So, whether you're Social Security age or not, we will walk through how the supplement is calculated, as well as how Social Security fits into your overall retirement picture. Then we'll also look at the TSP or Thrift Savings Plan. So, we'll go over strategies on how to maximize TSP, make sure that it is lasting for your entire retirement. And then finally, ORA or GRB platform assistance. So, one thing my wife Allie and I do is we help people through their retirement application. So, filling out the paperwork, making sure all your beneficiaries are set up correctly, as well as walking through some of these retirement planning timelines, as well as decisions that you'll have. So I just want to start out by pointing everybody down to the bottom of the screen. You should see a Q&A section. So if you have any questions throughout the class, if you just want to leave your questions there and we'll be sure to answer them as we go. So with that, we will go ahead and jump right into the big question, which is 2026. When is the best time for me to actually retire in the year? So there's a couple dates that are usually strongest if we're looking at the best time to retire. And really, that retirement date is going to influence when your paychecks start. So things like your pension or that Social Security supplement, as well as how much leave you cash out and are actually paid as a lump sum. So all that plays into the fact of which date you choose to be your retirement date. And as a general rule, we like to recommend the end of a pay period. And more specifically, if you can find a pay period that ends on the final day of a month, that is usually going to be the best. So we see a lot of people go for December 31st. It's kind of just the standard option everybody picks. And the reason for that is that's at the end of a pay period, the end of a month, but it's also at the end of the year. And with that December the 31st date, that gives you the most time possible to build up your annual leave so that when you retire and you get that lump sum for your annual leave, which is about 2 to 4 weeks after retirement, that number will be as high as possible. So you're free to retire really any day that you choose, but we mostly see people go for the end of the month, if not the end of the year. So just wanted to point that out because that will affect your pension timeline and how fast you're actually receiving those pension and supplement payments. So for that first pension, so who is eligible and how does that pension work? So to receive a first pension, you're going to need at least 5 years of creditable civil service. And that eligibility is going to depend on the age you are, as well as how many of those years of service that you have. So you'll see there's a chart on the left-hand side of your screen, and you can see at your minimum retirement age, which is between the ages of 55 and 57, you need 30 years of service for a full and immediate FERS pension. Now you can see at age 60 that years of service requirement drops down to just 20 years of service. And then at 62, that years of service requirement is only 5 years. So if you hit any of these eligibility guidelines with your age and years of service, that means you're able to retire and draw a full and immediate pension with zero reduction. There's a few ways you can retire before this. Many of those carry a reduction in your pension. So this is only looking at, again, full eligibility. And that's something we can help you with. So if you're sitting there thinking, hey, I don't know if I quite yet meet one of those classifications, I'm happy to sit down with you and walk through your individual details and just give you an idea of when your soonest retirement date would be. Once we've determined that you're eligible for that pension, The next thing we need to do is figure out how much yours is actually going to be on a monthly basis. And the way we do that is simple. So they take what they call the high three average, which is the highest 3 consecutive years of your salary. They average those 3 years together to get one number, and that's your high three. So they multiply the high three times your years of service, and then they multiply that number times a multiplier. So for most people, that multiplier is going to be 1%. However, if you're 62 or older and you have at least 20 years of service, you'll actually get 1.1% as a multiplier for your first pension. So in this example, we had an employee with an $80,000 a year high three. They had 25 years of service and they received the 1% multiplier. So that gave them an annual pension of $20,000 per year. Of course, we divide that by 12, and that will give us your monthly pension figure. So that pension is only going to be paycheck number one in what really is a 3 paycheck process that you're going to have in retirement. So really paycheck number two, of course, is going to be Social Security. So with Social Security, you are eligible to draw it as early as age 62. And your full retirement age for Social Security is going to vary based on the year that you were born in. So a lot of people we see, their full retirement age for Social Security is 67, as an example. And that's just simply the age that you can draw Social Security while still working, and it's not going to negatively impact your Social Security amount. However, as a federal employee, if you're retiring under one of those first two eligibilities, either the MRA with 30 years or age 60 with 20, you will receive what is called the FERS supplement. And the supplement pays you in place of Social Security until you reach age 62. And the way they calculate it is first, they go to Social Security and figure out what are you going to make if you start Social Security at the age of 62. Then they apply a percentage to that to determine your supplement. So they take your years of service and they divide it by 40, and that will give you a percentage. So for example, if somebody had 30 years of service, they divide 30 by 40, that's 75%. So that person's supplement from, let's say, 57 when they retire until 62 will be 75% of what Social Security says that they'll make at 62. So a little bit of math, it's a little bit more complicated on the supplement piece, just understanding that it's based on your years of service. You're getting a percentage as the supplement until you turn 62. And then at 62, that supplement stops, but you can take Social Security just as anybody else. So that I think is very helpful to know, especially if you're planning out, if you're retiring a little bit earlier, to realize how the supplement works and also how it impacts your income once you get to Social Security age and you get that built-in increase. So that's paycheck number two, which is Social Security. And then finally, paycheck number three, of course, is your TSP or Thrift Savings Plan. And with the TSP, it's a tax-deferred retirement savings account. It was made back in 1986 as a part to replace the old civil service retirement system. So there's Roth options available within TSP as well as traditional. And up recently, they actually just added where you can actually do Roth conversions within your TSP. So you have a good bit of flexibility there. Of course, there's an agency match of up to 5% of your salary. So I always recommend everybody at least try to take advantage of that because that matching over time really does make a difference once you get to retirement and start using that TSP to supplement your other incomes. There's 6 investment choices within TSP. So you have the G, the F, the C, S, I, and the L funds. And those funds you can pick between and you actually control how that money in Thrift Savings Plan is invested for you. And that'll, of course, determine what return or what increase you actually receive on your money within TSP. And TSP is ultimately designed to work alongside that pension and Social Security to really give you, again, a three paycheck retirement system. So we'll look at how TSP works and actually what your options are in retirement. And really, you have four main options. So, number one, you can leave that money invested in the TSP. They don't make you take it out until later when you start hitting RMDs or required minimum distributions. But for now, you can leave money in TSP. And of course, then you're still managing the investments. And depending on which fund it is going to determine the returns that you make in there. Another option is, of course, you can start taking withdrawals from TSP. So whether that's a partial or a total withdrawal, you do have that ability upon separation to start making those withdrawals from TSP. Option number three, which this is something we help with, which is you can roll over to an IRA or an individual retirement account, or even turn that TSP into monthly payments for the rest of your life. So some people, they'll get there with TSP and they'll say, hey, I know I need extra income monthly. When I'm looking at my pension and Social Security, I'm still a little far off on my monthly income needs. You can use part of that TSP to give you a third monthly paycheck. And then really number four, which is what I see most common, is leave part of it in TSP and use part of it for that lifetime income. So that's actually what we'll look at today. And hopefully this gives you some ideas. So this is a federal employee that we worked with, actually from the Retirement Resources Group, named John. And John is 60 years old. He's got 30 years of service, and his high three was $58,500. So John came to us and he really had questions about number one. He knew he was eligible to retire, but he did not know what the difference between the income he's bringing in while he's working would be compared to what he's going to bring in retirement. So what we did for John is we put him together a monthly budget. First, we had his FERS pension, of course. We figured out that's going to pay John $1,463 per month. Now, John, since he's under 62, he's going to be one of those employees that qualifies for that FERS supplement. We realized that his supplement is going to pay him $1,500 a month. And then, of course, at 62, John's going to be able to take Social Security, and it'll actually end up being a good bit higher than that at $2,000 a month. So with those first two added together, in retirement, John's going to start with an income of $2,963 a month, a little over $35,500 per year. So that's about 60% of what John was actually making while he was working. But that's just his first two paychecks. Remember, John's a part of a three paycheck retirement system. So let's see how his TSP can actually help boost those first two numbers up. And John's got a TSP of 350,000. So we ran John some examples to see how that can be used to supplement his pension and Social Security. So with this TSP, the lifetime income option, and again, this is an IRA that we offer and we help people with all the time in this Facebook group. The income that you receive is guaranteed for life. So John's going to get a monthly payment for the rest of his life. It's guaranteed to never decrease. It can increase over time. And every time that John gets an increase in his income, that is the new guaranteed amount for the rest of his life. So it doesn't matter if John lives another 30 or 40 years in retirement, he's still going to get those monthly payments, and those monthly payments are guaranteed for the rest of his life. So this really just gives him an additional retirement income or paycheck, and it's also protecting him from risk. He can't lose money in this account, and as I mentioned earlier, his monthly payment can never decrease. So this is buying John a lot of security in that he does not have to worry about the markets, and he also doesn't have to worry about running out of money. So let's see how that combines with his full picture. So again, we had John that pension was right at $1,463 a month. His Social Security supplement was $1,500 per month. And that TSP to lifetime income, we used 300,000 of that 350 that John had in TSP. And that gave John a payment that started at $1,539 per month. Now, the good thing about that TSP lifetime income payment is it's going to go up over time. And every time John gets an increase in his income, that increased amount is guaranteed. So to illustrate that, let's say next year John's payment goes up to $1,600 a month. Well, then John's always going to get at least $1,600 a month. It can never drop below that. So every time John gets an increase, that is increasing his monthly payment and his monthly income for the rest of his life. So if we add those three together, John's got a total retirement income of $4,500 per month, a little over $54,000 per year. And that is really going to put John in a position where he has about 92% of his retirement income is what he was making while he was working. So John's at 92% of his income just with those three alone. And the great thing is we left $50,000 in TSP. So John still has an emergency fund that he can easily access in addition to that. That's not counted in at all. So this puts John in a position where he's got three paychecks coming in. All three of them can increase over time and they can never decrease. So this is what we help people with, and specifically on the retirement planning side, giving people an idea of what they're making while they're working, how's that going to compare with what they make in retirement, and what can we use to bridge that gap so we get that retirement income as close to your working income as possible. Another thing we do all the time, and we charge absolutely nothing for this, is help with the retirement application. So if you're retiring this year and you need help filling out your paperwork, whether that's making beneficiary designations or just doing things like military buyback, that is something that I will sit with you and walk you through the whole process. Again, all at no cost. So really just anything to give you a heads up, and put you in a good spot to get that retirement process as quickly as possible. We've seen a lot of delays this last year, especially with all the early retirements that have been processed. So what I've been telling people is the sooner we can start on this process, the better. Even if you're not planning on retiring for another year and a half, 2 years, it's never too late for us to start on it. That way, there's not a delay ultimately in receiving those pension payments as you wait on that paperwork to be processed. So what I would urge everybody to do is at the end of this call, it's going to take you automatically to a page, and there you can actually request a one-on-one retirement session. So there's no pressure in that at all. I'm happy to just help you answer any questions you may have. Maybe you just need a second opinion, just make sure you're understanding things correctly. I'm more than happy to do that, all the way to if you need a full retirement plan and you want to look at TSP options, happy to do that as well. So in that retirement session, typically what we'll do is we'll review all of your retirement incomes. We'll look at Social Security, Medicare, even IRMA, make sure you're covered on those. We can walk through your TSP investments, look at rollover options, or maybe if you're considering using part of that TSP for a lifetime income, of course, we can explore that as well. And then ultimately just help you get your paperwork, finalize everything before those deadlines, and make sure you make the insurance decisions you would like to take with you from federal service. So again, there's no cost to any of our retirement sessions. We're more than happy to provide that, really just as the benefit of being a group member. So with that, I just want to thank everybody for joining. Again, my name is Chris. My wife Al and I, we would be more than happy to help you through any of this. If you just have questions, need help, please let us know. I'm going to put my phone number on the screen here, and you can text or call this number if you'd like to schedule a session. Again, my number is 256-443. 9964. So if you have questions, feel free to send me a text, give me a call, and I would be